What is up, folks? This is Acid Roots, and it's time for part 3 of Turtles in Time. So, yeah, party's still just getting started here. We're gonna get crunk a little bit, just have some fun with it. Looks like Michelangelo just got tripped up. You definitely don't want to hit those boars with the patches on them, because they will attack you more so than the enemies. But, yeah, we're in the pirate stage, the Skull and Crossbones. So, that's kind of what we have afoot here. And, it's actually not evening time as I do this. It's kind of bright and early in the morning, but sometimes I'll have a bad night of sleep, and it'll, of course, I mean, I want to get this done now rather than wait and then be too tired or not in the mood to do it. So, you know, just a morning motivation for you. Oh, these guys are assholes. And get introduced basically to the stone dudes. I think you might have seen them in the previous stage, but they're going to start showing up more, and they're kind of annoying. I mean, that's the thing, is when you have a buddy, they're not nearly as bad because you can kind of at least attack some of them differently, but this is kind of, I mean, I can only imagine how tough they are on hard mode. But yeah, that's the thing. So I looked this up after I beat this game, and I noticed I kind of got like a paltry ending. But the whole thing about it is none of the 3 endings in this game are good, with the exception of hard mode. That's the only one that truly showcases like justice and a degree of satisfaction, which is basically complies you to say, why aren't you playing this on hard mode? And there's a number of reasons. Probably one is the morbidly annoying shredder stage, and this shit like that. More enemies that piss you off more, and of course, the fact that you're gonna burn through continues. But you know, not every single person's a masochist. This is what you have to understand. So, but I am happy that I can actually complete this game. So. Yeah, we're already at the boss after this, so yeah, here we go. So apparently, here's the situation, a second player can join at any time. It doesn't have to. You don't have to start off with 2 players. You can have player 2 if you're like, hey, I can do the first 5 stages without any help, and then I need help after that. It's like, well, player 2 can jump in at that point. And I kind of like that idea. That's the sort of shit in video games that kicks ass. But, you know, Super Mario World, you can't do that. You have to, I mean, if you want Luigi there, you have to save from the beginning. But that's about this game. And this is kind of like an arcade game. It's too bad that there weren't more games like this. The only real one I can think of is just that Goof Troop game or some shit like that. There's just not many. I mean, the idea behind a cooperative Super Nintendo game was just not overly used. I think like Sunset Riders and Contra 3, the Alien Wars, were a few others, but see, these guys are idiots. I mean, they're just sitting there getting pissed off at each other, and they do that. They do fight. If you let them, if you start whipping their ass too much, they start getting pissed off at each other. It's kind of funny because I think in the Ninja Turtles show, that's kind of, they didn't like each other back then. So this is kind of implied that they're really not that tough a boss compared to the ones from the Shredder stage. Those guys work in conjunction.
Bury my shell at Wounded Knee.
But yeah, here's another stage for you. This takes it to the 1800s and shit. Yeah, I like using those techniques on those people. Probably pisses off the foot soldiers. I mean, these guys are pretty well equipped. I mean, the shit that they do, they're always showing up on horses and coming out at the same time, and you know, they're pretty athletic and nimble. So I know those guys' names are called foot soldiers, so this is kind of the Foot Clan. It's funny. Oh, he got thrown off a train. That must have really sucked. You know. But So this game still shines through, despite its age. I mean, honestly, the biggest weakness to Turtles in Time is just the fact that there was never really a good sequel. And I don't really feel like the reshelled game, I mean, although you can play with 4 people, I don't know how well it lived up, just because, I mean, this really felt like it was a part of like the 90s television show, just because the graphics in this game are so much similar to the show. But unfortunately, the one that came out for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation didn't really have like a show to kind of back it with. I don't know. I mean, it just feels like the 90s one is always going to be the best one. I mean, they may have tried, but Ninja Turtles was just on a high back in 1993 and 1995, which is too bad because they didn't quite milk this franchise as well as they needed to. I mean, the next game, which is actually Tournament Fighters, which is a fighting game based on Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. I mean, that was a decent game, and it even had an adventure mode, but it probably should have had both, because this game has a fighting mode. If you have 2 players but you don't want to cooperate, you can fight a second player in a fighting game, but obviously it doesn't really have many techniques. It just is pressing jump and attack, so that's just kind of all it is. But yeah, Tournament Fighters was a brilliant game. I mean, I like that game. It's pretty sick. And I remember there's like some dude that only did like one video game and that was it. And it was the Pasta King, and that was like his definitive. I always think of him when I think of that game for the most part. But that was a good game, even though it pissed me off. So. Yeah, so. Oh, that's cool that you can deflect those knives. That's the thing, I mean, there are some characters that throw projectiles, and if you have quick enough reflexes and you're on the same plane as them, you can deflect them back at them. That's the thing. There's like one of the foot soldiers will throw like a sewer lid at you, and if you hit it at the right time, you can deflect it back at him, but you only get like 2 opportunities to do that. So. And I would have tried it, but I probably just would have gotten hit. You have to have real good timing. So, very much shall it wounded me. I don't know where that's from. So I probably some bury my hide. Yeah. So I don't know what happened to April. I mean, you see April, you probably saw April O'Neil at the beginning of this video. She shows up if you kind of are motionless for a while and you don't move. She will just encourage you to keep fighting and keep going, but if you pause the game, you won't see her. But this kind of makes me want to watch the Ninja Turtles movie from 1990, the first live-action movie that they did. That's kind of where I got the artwork for this thumbnail from. And that is a good movie. I mean, despite it's kind of childish, but at the same time, it's still good. Just because the attempts behind it, the pizza eating, and I like Casey Jones. He should have been in this. I definitely felt like, you know, there could have been like a secret stage where he kind of helps and does some extra shit. Casey Jones is pretty tight. That was the thing. He was funny. It's because I mean, in the movie, he was going to kill those hooligans that Raphael told him not to. And he just said, like, maybe he wouldn't have killed them, but he probably would have beaten them a lot worse than just, you know, being able to arrest them or whatever, so the cops could. That was kind of the thing. It was just, it was pretty serious for a movie that like 6-year-olds were going to see, to sit there and say, "Oh, well, I'm gonna make you really bleed," you know. That was Casey Jones' whole mentality, is just based upon the show, but he's dope. I think actually he did have an affair with April O'Neil. Obviously, none of the turtles really could. So she was just she actually was just a friend to them, but Casey probably liked her. This dude is such a doofus. I don't understand why the Krang robot has to be so idiotic. I mean, he looks like something off of like RuPaul or something. I mean, I just don't understand where that junk comes from. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, that's just the way that dude walks around. I mean, he looks either like some sort of macho wrestler or something, like I said, from a drag thing, but. Yeah, the difficulty behind this fight is just you have to be on the same plane as him, and he kind of switches frequently, so you have to always kind of get to him, and obviously because you're not on the ground, you're just very mobile in this fight. That's just the thing. It's really not that difficult. I think even on hard mode, this is not one of the more terrible fights to do. But yeah, this is basically like another bonus stage. It's kind of like the sewer stage. Although I wish that there would have been a sewer stage like there was in the Genesis game. Just where it wasn't a bonus stage. Alright, so we're almost done with this episode. Like I said, this is a brief project. You know, you just kind of unload. And maybe you guys didn't get pizza. Maybe you just got some KFC or something. Some fried chicken, something like that. It's all good, you know. Macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes with gravy, biscuits with cheese, some shit like that, you know what I mean? That sort of stuff. Even if you like the healthy stuff like green beans, it's good shit. It's crunchy. Definitely encouraged to eat with this project. But, yeah, alright, stay tuned for the finale. Subscribe for more fun. Have a wonderful night.